Welcome, Rinkcast, to this Blackhawks Hockey Rinkcast episode 40, exclusively sponsored by the premium hockey outfitters at puckhockey.com. That's PUCKHCKY.com. Use discount code THERINK to get all of your gear or your gear. I hope you guys went out there and bought a lot of things for all of your friends and family. Some rink gear and some puck hockey gear. Today is Wednesday, January 2nd, 2019. Happy New Year. First Rinkcast of the new year. All of us at the rink do want to wish you and your families Happy New Year. I hope everyone was safe and had a good time and got everything that they had coming from Santa and all that good stuff. I am Jeff Osborne, better known across the interwebs as Gatekeeper.
Yes, Satan.
What's up, jerks?
And I'm joined by my good friend, co-host, and fellow grumpy old guy, Mr. John Jekyll. Hello, sir.
It's a sad day, Jeff.
Yeah, why's that?
Well, the passing of Mean Gene Okerlund.
Somewhere. No, go ahead.
In a squared circle in the sky, Big John Studd is holding up a baggie of Andre the Giant's hair in front of Mean Gene.
In Super Dave Osborne, I find out.
And Super Dave
How
Osborne.
appropriate. I am Jeff Osborne. Super Dave Osborne passes my long-lost relative, Super Dave.
Whose actual last name is Einstein.
Yeah, I know. See, there are a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
Oh, so, yeah, we had a nice kind of quiet Christmas and everything, and then the Winter Classic happened. So we got a lot of stuff going on. The Winter Classic trades, some updates on the World Juniors, all kinds of that good stuff. But first, our boy Evan in Indianapolis, or somewhere thereabout, has been working real hard on the beat for the Indy Fuel. And we want to get him in, and we've been doing the, the Roadhog reports or whatever, War Pigs reports with Mario in Rockford. So we wanted to get Evan into the mix, and he's going to give us his first Indy Fuel report, so you guys can get up to date on what's going on in Indy, because quite honestly, no one's covering Indy like we are. So,
no one's covering the Chicago Steel like we are either.
Yeah. So we got a lot of stuff. We're very diverse, at least in the Chicago markets right now. And we plan.
Did you say we're perverse or diverse?
We're perverse too.
Figure it out.
So, without further ado, our boy Evan is going to give us our fuel report, and then we'll be right back. So here we go.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Welcome to the first ever Indy Fuel report on the Rinkcast. The big headline coming out of today for the Fuel, goaltender Matt Tompkins was named the ECHL's goaltender of the week for the second time this season. In his previous two starts this past week, he was 2-0 with a 2.0 goals against average and a .940 save percentage. He has won 8 of his last 9 starts, and the loss coming in that span was against one of the top teams in the league, the Toledo Walleye, in which he allowed a penalty shot goal in the final minutes of the game, and a close 6-5 loss in which he still made 29 saves. Over his last 9 starts, Tompkins has a 2.73 goals against average and a .918 save percentage. He's also tied for second in wins in the ECHL with Florida Everblades goaltender Jamie Phillips. They both have 13 wins on the season. In first place is Newfoundland Growlers goaltender Michael Gartigue, and he only has 14 wins. So Tompkins is 1 win behind tying Gartigue for the league lead in wins. Jamie Phillips, I talked about. Tompkins was tied with him in wins. Phillips is the top 5 goaltender in the ECHL, which says a lot about Tompkins' play these past few games. He's also tied for third in minutes in the league with Wichita Thunder goaltender Stuart Skinner. He has played 1,368 minutes, which is equivalent to around 22 games. Tompkins has put up a 13-9 record so far this season. He's also third in saves in the ECHL, making 695 of them in net for the Fuel. And Tompkins has really been staying strong in net despite a weak but improving defense. The Fuel are 18th out of 27 teams in the ECHL in shots against. They have let up around 32, 33 shots per game consistently here lately. I talked to head coach Bernie John a little bit about it, he doesn't want their defense to be too fancy in their own zone. He thinks they're trying to make one too many moves in their own zone, trying to get the puck out, clear it, and get it to their forwards. And then just when it looked like the defense couldn't get any worse, really, Zach Miskovic, their captain, their veteran on the back end, was taken off on a stretcher a couple weeks ago in a game against the Kalamazoo Wings, in which he was boarded by Wings forward Zach Saar. Saar was assessed a boarding major and a game misconduct on the play, and he was also suspended for a game and fined an undisclosed amount by the league. But in Miskovic's absence, the defense has really stepped up. They've really improved over the past week or two. Neil Manning, I would argue to be one of the Fuel's best defenders, is tied for 17th in the ECHL in defensive scoring. 17 points in 29 games, 2 goals, 15 assists. And his partner Alex Brooks hasn't been too shabby lately either. He has 3 points in 4 games, including 2 goals in that span. And the Fuel have also brought in defenseman Guillaume Node, who participated in Fuel training camp this past offseason. Played in one ECHL game previously this season, so he's obviously new to the league, still learning his ways around. But he brings a great physical presence. He can lay the body behind the net, in front of the net, and has a great shot. We saw a game here previously in Indy where he took a one-timer from the point that ripped past the netminder. It was a really great scoring opportunity for the Fuel. So good look there for Indy, and they really have had great offensive production lately, even though they've kind of struggled to shoot the puck, to put the puck on the net lately. They're last in the ECHL in shots for per game, putting around 28 shots on the net per game. Head coach Bernie John, he said he wanted to start getting around 30, 35 shots on net in games. He has a philosophy of getting pucks north. He wants the defenseman to get the pucks up to the forward, just get the puck in deep, and really try to get those scoring opportunities. But the offensive production lately has been great. They have at least 5 goals in 6 of the last 7 games, including a 6-goal outing here recently in Kalamazoo on New Year's Eve. I talked to forward Brett Wolichka. He said it's been a new kind of vibe in the locker room. They've been going into practice with a brand new mindset lately, and that's really showed as it looks like they're starting to gel just a little bit more out there on the ice. The line of Olivier Labelle, Matthew Thompson, and Kevin Dufour has been very consistent. Dufour was actually on a 3-game streak of 2 goals in a game, so he had 6 goals in 3 games here. And then we're also starting to get more depth scoring, which is what Bernie John was kind of talking about a little bit. The Ruperts, Matt Rupert and Ryan Rupert, twin brothers, they've been getting it going. They had 6 points combined between the 2 of them in Kalamazoo here on New Year's Eve. Ryan Rupert had a 4-point night. Matt Rupert put the puck in the net twice. For Josh Shala, the Fuel's leading scorer, is actually on a 5-game point streak here with 2 goals and 5 assists for 7 points in 5 games. And newly acquired forward Avery Peterson hasn't played a lot lately, been a healthy scratch, but he actually scored his first pro goal and engaged in his first professional fight on New Year's Eve, so he's starting to make a difference on the ice for the Fuel, kind of get the boys going a little bit, get the puck in the back of the net. We acquired him from the Norfolk Admirals. But there is a lot of momentum for the Fuel here going into 2 huge Central Division games against the Fort Wayne Comets and Wheeling Nailers at home on Thursday and Friday, coming off, like I said, a big 6-2 win in Kalamazoo where they absolutely exploded for a 4-goal second period, which is the 3rd time in which they've scored at least 4 goals in a single period against Kalamazoo this year, and it's the 4th time in which they have done so all season. The Fuel are 12-5 here at home. Like I said, they play the Comets and Nailers on Thursday and Friday, 2 Central Division opponents at home, and they have one of the best home records in the ECHL. So they're looking to get 4 points out of those 2 games. So, that's the Indy Fuel report. Thanks again for having me. For any new Indy Fuel news information, follow me at Evan F. Miller on Twitter. And back to you guys.
Wow, thank you, Evan. That was great. Good stuff. Hopefully we're going to be hearing more from him. We may kind of be doing some flip-flopping and taking turns with Mario having to do his War Pigs report and then doing our Fuel report. And maybe we'll get Ray on to do some Steel stuff. And we'll make our way around, at least Chicago hockey for that matter. So, anyway. John, how was your holiday? Good?
Jeff, my holiday was relaxing. It was really, really hard to get out of couch mode and go into work today. Very hard.
I completely understand. Yeah. But
And you?
it was good. Good and relaxing, which is what I need. You know, I need a little bit more relaxation in my life. So,
Yes, you do. I can
yeah.
attest.
Instead of fighting with people on Twitters. Which I haven't done a lot of lately. Good, you know. I don't know if it's because people don't care anymore, or if I'm just being I'm less agitated. I don't know if it has anything to do with me being less agitated though, because I'm quite agitated often. But speaking of being agitated often, last night or yesterday was the Winter Classic. Blackhawks lost 4-2 to the Boston Bruins. The game was very close. The game was very tight. Blackhawks were up and then blew it. But overall, I guess it's going to go down as a success.
How so?
What's that?
How so?
Well, I just mean they claim they got a sellout. So,
Yeah.
all the, I don't know necessarily for the Blackhawks, but for the league and both teams together, I think it would be considered a success. Now, the outcome, of course, was not a success for the Blackhawks, but
No. Right.
That's overall, the money thing. I mean, they said they had 76,000 people in there. I said I call bullshit on that, but it was close enough that they could at least say with a reasonable amount of accuracy that it was somewhere in the area of a sellout.
Yeah.
There wasn't that many open seats where it was just that blatant. So, then a lot of people went out there, they tailgated. It seemed like it was, I wasn't there, but it looked like, from on TV and from the pictures I've seen that everyone that I knew that went, it seems like it was well attended. It was majority Blackhawks fans, but I think, the overall game and everything itself, I think went off better than we even, you and I had expected it to.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's good for the league.
Yeah, for sure. Now, like I said in my recap, now can we knock it off and stop putting the Blackhawks in these stupid games they can't win?
Yeah. I think you're speaking for most fans of the NHL when you say that.
I know. Even when
the Chicago fans are really, really tired of seeing the Blackhawks, especially now that they're not a good team anymore.
Well, yeah.
Everybody's wondering.
And the big thing too, and I didn't even necessarily really think of it this much before the game, but when I started to think about it, it's a 2 to 2.5 hour drive from Chicago.
Yeah.
Even longer if you're in the north suburbs. It's not close to Boston, so and there's no major airport nearby.
No, you got to fly either into Indy or Chicago.
Yeah. So those are some
or
big.
You could connect to Kalamazoo and drive down from there or something, but yeah.
Right. That there's some big obstacles for this thing on top of the fact that the closest team, the closest city or closest NHL city, the team's bad. The Blackhawks are bad. Luckily for everyone involved, the Blackhawks were on a hot streak coming into the game.
Yeah.
They lucked out on quite a few thhave when this came out. I mean, of course, you can't make up for the fact that they're just a bad team, but this might have been the perfect spot for them to hit a Winter Classic because they might not be this good the rest of the season, and they weren't before it either.
Yeah, it's funny. Our buddy the Gov posted something on one of our chats about the schedule in January, and it's pretty brutal. It's going to be really interesting. We'll get to this in the questions, but it is going to be really interesting to see, where the management of the team is at in terms of the trade deadline. At really the beginning of February, because January is going to be a brutal month in terms of the schedule.
Yeah, it's not. And there's going to be teams that are going to be really putting their foot on the gas, trying to rack up points for the playoffs. And they're going to be playing against a lot of playoff teams, a lot of good teams. And, this team is better than the team was a month ago with the player and
no
personnel.
question.
They are a better team.
The defense is better, and I personally, I think that's primarily because of Connor Murphy coming back and pairing him with Dahlstrom. And neither one of those guys are NHL All-Stars, nor will they ever be. But that's how bad the defense was. That a couple of, an AHL guy and a decent maybe 4 or 5 defensemen, Murphy, can make that much of an impact on your defense. But they have. I actually thought Murphy had a pretty good game yesterday overall. I think he had a couple of moments where he struggled a little bit. One of the goals, I think a power play goal, he let the guy get behind him. But other than that, I thought he was pretty good. But again, it's the defense has gotten better, and as a result, the team's gotten better. But I think this little hot streak that they were on was a little bit of an illusion. And the next month, I think, is going to be pretty brutal.
Yeah, I was kind of mentioned that when
tomorrow night.
What's that?
Starting tomorrow night when they go to play the Islanders, and then they have Pittsburgh at home. Then they have Calgary. They're at home with Calgary, and then they travel to Pittsburgh. No, excuse me. Then Nashville at home. Then Vegas at home. Then the Devils. Then the Rangers, so a couple of easy ones there. And then the Washington Capitals come to Chicago, followed by the Islanders coming to Chicago. And then the Hawks travel to Buffalo on February 1st. So there's a lot of tough games there.
Oh, look at that. Blackhawks prospect Ian Mitchell scored the first goal for Canada. I think it's Ian Mitchell. Yeah, it is.
Right.
Yeah, he just scored. He opened up the scoring for the Canada-Finland game. They're a couple minutes into the second period. So I
got a tip week on Ian Mitchell that he may be electing to stay at Denver one more year.
Oh, interesting.
I checked it out with our NCAA guy who happens to live in Denver, Aaron Goldschmidt, and Aaron said that sounded consistent with what he's seen and heard. It's not a definite, but that he's leaning towards staying. In large part because he's recognizing that he's probably not going to make it to Chicago right away if he comes out this year.
Right. Yeah, and you got basically a bunch of the same kind of guys. He'd be fighting with Boqvist. He'd be fighting with kind of Yoki Haro to a degree.
Yeah.
Plus maybe Beaudin. Maybe he's going to let it, I don't know that it's necessarily a bad idea for him.
Gustafson and Keith.
Well, yeah, that too.
Those are your two left side guys. Well, Gus is playing right side now, but he's really more of a left side guy in reality.
I think maybe he's going to let it shake out for a year, see who they get rid of.
I think that's what he's going to do.
And especially the young guys too. Maybe some of these guys, they're just we're not going to have use for this guy. We already got 3 of them, and then they're going to unload some guys and open up something for the following year. Open up a spot. So maybe that's
probably why they traded Norell.
Well, Norell wasn't coming back anyway.
Yeah,
he was just basically, and they had his rights, and he was still under contract. So,
right.
But he decided to go back to Sweden and not be involved with the Blackhawks organization anymore. We'll talk about that a little bit in a little bit, and we're going to talk about the World Junior stuff too. So, but anyway, back to the Winter Classic. It went off pretty well. Blackhawks stayed in the game. They didn't get slaughtered, which we thought could happen possibly. Because head coach Jeremy Colleton decided he wanted to start Cam Ward, and it ended up not being an issue, but it could very well have been an issue.
I thought Ward was pretty good.
Yeah, he was.
He didn't have a lot of help, especially in the latter part of the game.
No. Those 3 goals were not on him, so it was not a goaltending loss at all by any means. Cam Ward basically stood on his head a lot of times. And it wasn't pretty. Let's just say it was in a flopping manner.
Yeah. But he does flop around quite a bit.
Yeah, which he's the thing I noticed he should really hold a piece of my heart because he's not necessarily like a true butterfly goalie type guy. He's got a little bit of that late 90s, early 2000s, Dominic Hasek, 2-pad stack in it instead of, sliding over in the butterfly. He's still got a little bit he might be one of the only goalies that still has that old school, feel to his game, where you get the 2-pad stack. There's not many of them that do that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even really taught anymore, so it's probably part of the reason why you don't see a lot of it. But I don't know that necessarily was a bad idea either. But whatever. So they lost 4-2. It went off well. They looked really good. The jerseys looked nice. I really had no complaints about anything except for the fact that Weezer didn't play on TV. As Pappy pointed out, they did play it. They were playing it only for the people locally, but they didn't show it on TV, which was Africa's Toto's
Mm-hmm.
Africa.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted them to play that, but that's the only thing that disappointed me, which probably didn't disappoint a whole lot of people.
Yeah, there's no way they were going to let him play that.
So, but that's all good. The jerseys look good. I might, see if I can find one on clearance or something and get one. What I really wanted was Delia to start, because I was going to get a Delia jersey, get it letter with Delia on it, but that didn't happen, and that's fine. Not the end of the world. I just thought it would be a good idea to see what the kids got on a national stage, since they're not going to make the playoffs, and it's probably going to be the most, the biggest game they're going to see all year. So if they really wanted to see what he's got, that would have been a good time to do it. But they went another route. I kind of suspected that maybe there was some kind of agreement made when he signed here. That all right, well, if you come here and you may be the starter for a majority of the year, and if Corey can't play in the Winter Classic, we'll let you play the Winter Classic, kind of thing. That's very possible that something like that could have happened, and because it was weird that a majority of people were like, I would start, even like Steve Conroy and Pat Boyle, and not just us yelling into the microphones, quote unquote legitimate sources were saying, I would start, Delia's hot. He's super hot. I would start Delia if you want to win. And then they flip-flopped, of course, on the pre-show when it was announced something otherwise. But, it's not the end of the world. I'm not going to make a big deal about it, because it really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things.
Right.
So anyway, on top of the Winter Classic, just before late Sunday night, as we're all relaxing after the Bears win and all this stuff, the Blackhawks announced a trade. They announced they had traded Brandon Manning and the aforementioned Robin Norell, who is playing in Sweden right now, for Drake Caggiula and Jason Garrison. Drake Caggiula played at North Dakota with Nick Schmaltz, Luke Johnson, Brock Besser, all those guys. So they're all on the same team. It was really good that year. Caggiula was actually second on the team in scoring and points, ahead of Nick Schmaltz and well ahead of Luke Johnson. Jason Garrison, he's 34, something like that.
Yeah.
34-year-old journeyman defenseman, played with Vegas last year, I think, but has been, was playing a lot in with the Wolves here in Chicago. And he had played some games with Edmonton. It's just, he's probably well past his expiration, but would have necessarily, could have been a decent addition in Rockford. They can't use him, in the NHL. They already have 4 or 5 different guys that are better than Jason Garrison, probably. But they get rid of one problem, which is Brandon Manning. They had him signed for 2 years, so the summer failure of Stan Bowman continues.
Yeah.
But they get it off the books, which, hey, I have to applaud them for that. And we're definitely not really positive all the time, and they want us to be. We hear so many times, "Oh, you're so negative, you hate everything," and all that. But
man, come on.
But Brandon Manning was not good. He wasn't a good signing then. Even when we knew that he was probably going to be signed by the Blackhawks, no one was jumping around the streets, cheering, that they had this guy, because they had a bunch of other guys just like him. But he's gone. They don't have to pay the next year, which is he's like, $2.25 million.
Yeah.
So they get that off the books. One of and probably the most expensive 5, 6, 7 guy that they had out there.
Yeah.
So,
well, Ruda was the other one.
Yeah.
And it's funny because there was a rumor out there that, and I forget where I actually heard it. It may have been somebody else's. So I'll apologize if I'm copying somebody else's rumor here, but that the Hawks actually held a conference call with several GMs or before Ruda was sent down and basically said, we have a couple of mistakes on our roster that we want to fix, and we'll take any kind of bids that you can make on them. And sure enough, in the last few weeks, Ruda was sent down and he was waived, and nobody claimed him. And then they traded Brandon Manning. And that, to me, I'm guessing those were mistake A and mistake B that they were referring to, if that rumor is in fact true.
Yeah, that would make sense. But this is, and we're very hard on Bowman, right? But this is a step in the right direction. At least now he's
always been good at shedding salary. He's always been good at that. I think where people, get a little frustrated, or maybe very frustrated, is that he's had to shed salary 2010, 2013, 2015, and now during the season in 2018. And the feeling is that he doesn't usually get very much back, or he doesn't get really value for value back. And we'll see with Caggiula, because he's basically the only thing of any value in this trade for either team. So anyway, we'll see.
Not too good, man.
Yeah, well, and the other thing too is we were always, we were harping on him about them doubling down on their mistakes all the time. And this is an instance where he did not double down on his mistake. They figured out it was a mistake, and they're getting it, they're getting rid of it. And the other times when it's happened, it's like he was almost forced to do it because, Trevor Daley was, Quenneville wasn't playing him, and he wasn't playing well for Quenneville, and they had to get rid of him. And then they took, Scuderi back, and that was a whole nightmare thing. And, but I mean, I can't possibly see, Jeremy Colleton strutting into Stan Bowman's office saying, "Hey, I'm not playing this guy," or "I don't like him," or whatever,
I have another theory that is becoming more than a theory. It's becoming more of a belief. And that is, the net effect of the last couple of years is that the Hawks have shed a lot of salary. The Hossa trade and there was, cap money recapped from that, getting, waiving Ruda. Now they're losing some salary with Manning, et cetera, on down the line. And I think, it's created this belief or expectation on the part of some that, they're going to go crazy in free agency this year and go out and spend a lot of money and revamp the team. I'm starting to wonder if this is basically, it's just dollars and cents. They're trying to shed as much salary as they can because sponsorships are off, ticket sales are off, and Rocky's pissed. I think there could be quite a bit of validity to that, and it might be a mistake to expect them to go out and spend $20 million in free agency this summer. And quite honestly, that may not be the best approach for this team either to do that. But all this salary shedding could just be basically reducing the payroll because the revenue's not there anymore, or not like it was.
It could be, hand in hand, it should be that they need to open up spots so they can bring in quality players. But
yeah, but I mean, it's funny. I was sort of wargaming it out, and I was thinking about it. I mean, and part of it was something that you had posted earlier in the day about how weak the goalie market is for free agents this summer.
Yeah, it is.
But so imagine that they go out after, say, Panarin and Erik Karlsson. So they're going to end up having to overpay both guys lots of money, big money. Let's just say, for instance, and give them long term. Both of them at the end of these contracts are going to be in their early 30s. Or say they go after Bobrovsky because he's like the only free agent goalie who's really worth pursuing. Assuming he hits free agency. They would have to overpay him. So free agency for a team like the Hawks, especially with their core getting really old and obviously not what it once was, it doesn't make a lot of sense. It's basically kicking the rebuild can down the road a couple more years, but they're still going to have to do it because Keith's going to be gone. Seabrook will be gone. I mean, Host is already gone. Taves will be 33. Kane will be 32. I mean, I don't know if that. I don't know if that's that great of a strategy, and I don't know if that's what the Hawks are actually thinking. It may be that they're just paring down the salary as much as they can because the revenue's not there.
Yeah. Oh. I don't know. Either way, it's going to be interesting. I mean, the goalie market. You got the two Russians, Bobrovsky and Varlamov.
Varlamov's the other one, but I don't know. Somebody's going to pay him a lot of money in free agency. Do you want to be that team?
No, they're both 30, too.
Right.
Bobrovsky's going to be 30, but Varlamov is already 30. Mike Smith, Jimmy Howard can't. I mean, that drops off quickly.
Yeah.
Now, granted, there are some. Now, this is sorted by salary, so there are some guys who are making little money. Like Robin Lehner, who's in there. He's one of the best. His numbers right now are phenomenal.
He's going to get paid.
Yeah, he's going to get paid. Mrazek's in there. Cal Peterson, who's going to be an RFA from L.A. Can't imagine they're going to let him go. Calendelia. He's an RFA. So, yeah. We'll get back to the goalie thing and all that stuff. We'll finish up on this Manning Caggiula trade. The way I look at it is Norell was never playing for the Blackhawks. They was going to wait for his rights to expire or whatever. Manning, they didn't want him anymore. These were two players they had no desire to keep around.
Yeah.
They were just garbage. They had no use for either one of them. And I'm not meaning they're garbage players. With Manning, it could be debated. Robin Norell looks like he has some talent, but he may be, Eric Gustafson part 2 and not as good. But these were two players they didn't want. They had no interest in, and they got at least one player back, right?
Yeah.
And they got Garrison back, but then as it unfolds, Garrison was put on waivers yesterday, but he was actually put on unconditional waivers because he refused to report to Rockford. It looks like he's, as far as what Scott Powers says, it looks like he's going to retire instead of go to Rockford. So a fate slightly less painful than death, right?
Right.
You're being very dude.
So, but Drake Caggiula, he's a young guy, cost controlled for another year. He could play in the questions are going to be asked later. Maybe we should just bring it up now since we're already talking about him.
Sure.
We got several questions regarding Drake Caggiula. Joe Cromwell, Sean Mack, and Derek Ciavellis, excuse me, all asked questions about Caggiula. Where will he fit on the team, or will he go to Rockford, or any of that stuff, or who goes down when Caggiula finally signs, because he's had problems with work visas, so he hasn't even reported to the team yet.
Yeah,
but. So, that's what they ask. That's what they want to know, where he's going to go. To me, he's a third line guy. Based on everything I've read and everything I've heard, he's got a third line guy that can actually score some goals. He's got 7 goals in 20-something games. It's not too shabby.
Yeah, third or fourth line guy.
Yeah.
And he's a guy who's going to be day in, day out is going to be a lower line player, but you could spot him in the top 6 if you need to. He's a high motor, high motor, can play center, can play wing. So it's hard to say, who he bumps out of the lineup. I don't see them, unless they really are, again, in just cost cutting mode. I don't see them waiving Kruger. But you never know. Kruger's paid more than guys like Martinson or Hayden. So it's possible.
What about waiving Kunitz?
Yeah. There's another one. They could waive Kunitz. He hasn't played lately.
No, he hasn't played he played like one game and he was not good in that game.
Yeah, they could waive Kunitz and so yeah, that's a real possibility. As a matter of fact, that's probably the guy I would bet on.
I hope. Unfortunately, it scares me when the way they dragged Sharp through that last season when he wasn't good. He shouldn't have been out there, but they still dragged him through the end of the season. Hope they don't try to pull that garbage, that nonsense with Kunitz. To me, of course, Kunitz would be, the obvious choice. I don't see. I think they like Marcus Kruger still for right now. He's only here for one more year, or the end of this year. I think they're just going to.
He's a lot more worthwhile than Kunitz at this stage of their careers. He does things.
Yeah, but the guys who are waiver exempt are Cahoon, which they're not going to send down.
They're not going to send him down.
No, because he's got that European clause. I think they're afraid of that or whatever. That he can go back to Europe.
Well, some people claim him too.
Yeah. No, he's waiver exempt, so he wouldn't. He would pass through waivers. Dylan Sakura, Dylan Strome, and Alex DeBrincat. You got to ask me, out of those four, I'm sending Dylan Sakura back down.
Yeah, that's possible. Yeah.
I was having a chat, or at least I was responding to a chat on our message board. On our message board about how I had said, I've seen enough of Dylan Sakura for right now. Like, he's been in there 10 games, he's got 3 assists, but he hasn't really. I mean, he's been okay. He hasn't killed them. His possession numbers look okay, but he's not. He's here to score or to set up goals.
Yeah.
That's what he's here for. That's his job. He's not, he's 155 pounds. He's not going to play fourth line. Like, you can't move him down to fourth line. Because the fourth line starts 3/4 of their draws in the Blackhawks zone. What is 155-pound Dylan Sakura going to do when he's spending 3 out of every 4 faceoffs pinned in his own end?
Right.
That's just not going to work. And the third line has slightly less, starts in the defensive zone, but they still do. They're supposed to be a shutdown defensive type line, but you got to have a guy, guys that are responsible on both ends of the rink. That's why they have David Kampf there. And I mean, Alex DeBrincat is what Alex DeBrincat is. I think they've gone back to hiding him on the third line to get more favorable matchups, to get him more consistent. That's the only way I can see why he's playing on that third line. So you got Alex DeBrincat there, who defensively, he's okay at the best. And that's being, that's being very generous. And you've got Kampf, who's responsible on his own end. Having Dylan Sakura there doesn't. You basically have 2 Alex DeBrincats, one that can score and one that can't. At this point in time, that's what you have.
Well, the thing about DeBrincat too is that DeBrincat's pretty fearless. I mean, he's not a great skater. He's not great defensively, but offensively, he'll go in the corners and he'll go to the front of the net and he's, like I said, he's pretty fearless. I think a big part of his problem is that he did a lot of business in college in the slot, and he was basically untouched when he did. And you just can't do that in the NHL.
Yeah.
It's a much more physical game than the NCAAs, and I think that's where his adjustment really is. And he was in front of the net on one of his assists yesterday, which was great, but I think for the most part, he's really adjusting to the physicality of the NHL, and he's having a hard time asserting his game in the more physical nature of the NHL. And I think that they may send him down again. I mean, he wasn't doing that great in the AHL either, actually, relatively speaking. He wasn't doing that well.
Well, if you ask all, the mainstream, he's got a lot of shots on net, so he needs to be called up. Okay.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, okay. I mean, just let him develop. I mean, if he's not at least scoring, every once in a while, which he's not. We're 10 games here. It's, 1/8 of the season for the Blackhawks. It's a decent sample size. If he's not scoring goals and he's not getting he's not getting a lot of good quality chances, he gets one, it's not like he's going to go out there and he's going to not get any ever. Like, he's a talented player. He's got talent. He's going to get scoring chances.
That's obvious.
But he needs to be getting more scoring chances. He needs to be in the top 6. He needs to be playing power play. That's where he's going to be successful. He's not going to be successful on a third line trying to shut people down.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just, in theory, if you're playing video games, you could just throw guys on whatever line you want to throw them on. You could throw
Right.
Patrick Kane on the fourth line, which, of course, has been done before, but that's for different reasons. But you could throw Patrick Kane on the fourth line and let him play there all the time, and everything will work out wonderfully. But that's not how it works in the NHL. So they have to be slotted in and matched up with against the players that give them the best chance to succeed. And right now, Dylan Sikura is being kind of sheltered on like a third line that should be more of a shutdown line. So he's being miscast, and he's not, on top of it, he's not really scoring any goals. Send him back down, bring someone up, everyone wants to see the kids, and then the kids get here and they're just like, well, what about the rest of the kids? They forget about everybody else too. Like Anthony Lewis. I mean, why not give him a try? Give him a shot. I mean, I know he's a midget, but give him a shot. He was scoring, decently. I mean, why isn't there some outrage that Anthony Lewis isn't here? I'm not trying to be hard on anybody, or I think it was Alan Parsons on the message board. Where I just kind of said, I kind of just said all those things that he's really kind of miscast. But he brought up a good point that, I said it was good that Brendan Perlini scored yesterday, and it is, because you want to see that trade just turn into a flat out theft, because Dylan Strome has played very well. If they only got Dylan Strome back for Nick Schmaltz, they'd still be they'd be probably dead even. If Brendan Perlini can actually do something for this team, like this trade's going to be a steal.
Schmaltz is playing wing for Arizona. He's not playing center, right?
I think it's been a little both.
Okay.
But there were games where I saw him lined up at wing for sure.
No, but I heard his face-off percentage was something like 27% for Arizona.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing that, again, everybody looks at the points and says, well, that's how you evaluate the trade. But quite honestly, if their points are equal or roughly equal, but, Strome is holding down essentially the second line center role and over 50% on faceoffs and helping out in different situations, that's a win for the Hawks, because those are important things that you need from a center that Schmaltz was unable to provide. And if all else being equal, I'll take a solid center over a solid wing any day, because the centers are more valuable.
Yeah, and it's a lot easier to take someone who normally plays center, put him at wing to be able to fix your problem, your hole at wing, than it is to take a wing and try to make him into a center.
Yes, indeed.
So, wing, and I'm not saying it's easy, but wing is probably the easiest position.
Yes, it is.
On the rink to play. Yeah. And I'm not saying, I don't want to, don't at me on Twitter because I'm not saying it's an easy position. I'm saying it's the easiest of the positions. And anyone who's played it will probably agree with that as well. So, but, yeah. So anyway, back to Perlini though. Perlini's numbers are not good. His possession numbers are not good. And I agree with him. You know what? If Perlini wasn't, hasn't been playing better in the last, couple of games, why I shouldn't be harder on Perlini. And I looked at it and I was like, I thought about that. Yeah, I probably should be a little harder on Perlini. But I don't know that any of us really expected anything out of Perlini either.
He's a team low -12. He's tied with Brent Seabrook.
Yeah. But what we're expecting from Dylan Sikura should be, well, maybe or maybe not, should be more than we get out of Brandon Perlini.
Yeah, I mean, Sikura's only played 10 games. I mean, I have no problem with them giving him a little bit longer of a look, but at some point they're going to have to make a decision whether they want to keep him around or not this year, and where the best place is for him to develop.
As I was just looking at this, something that I just noticed, which is another thing that would be interesting to take into account. Let's see. John Hayden, Alex DeBrincat, Brendan Perlini, Dylan Strome, David Kampf, Dominic Cahoon are all the same age or younger than Dylan Sikura.
Wow.
Yeah. Dylan Sikura is 23. Cahoon and Kampf are 23. So is John Hayden. DeBrincat's 21, Perlini's 22, Strome is 21. So that just goes to show you, where he should be. Those should be his peers, right?
Yeah.
I mean, is he showing you more than David Kampf? No. Is he showing you more than Dylan Strome? No. Perlini, probably. DeBrincat, certainly not. John Hayden, But there's his peers at that point.
Here's one important distinction between DeBrincat, Strome, and I believe Perlini as well, is they all played major junior. Secure did not. He played college, and that may make his. I believe, generally speaking, not always, but in a lot of cases, the kids who play 3-4 years in college have a tougher adjustment to pro hockey than the kids who play junior. That's a very broad generalization and not always the case. But I think, generally speaking, that's true.
Come on, man.
Also, Gustav Forsling and Carl Dahlstrom are the same age or younger than Dylan Sikora. So, again, that's his peer group right there. And
very young team now.
Yeah. And Anthony Lewis, same age as Dylan Sikora. So, there you go. Anyway, so that's the trade. I foresee him on to get back to the original point. I see Caggiula playing third line wing with Kampf and probably at this point in time probably going to be Alex DeBrincat. And then we'll see where they go. Maybe they like that grit from Drake Caggiula and
Caligula.
Yeah, Caligula.
Yeah, Caligula.
Not. I don't know how many people are going to understand that listen to us. Do we have a lot of old folks? Because
Frank Fork named him Caligula.
Yeah. Well, that's because that's Fork.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, all right, moving on. The Garrison thing we did talk about too. It looks like he's going to retire, so he's not going to report. So the Blackhawks will get that. The Blackhawks actually get 2 contracts off their books, or 1 contract off their books, but take 1 back. So that's good for them because they were at 49, which meant they probably couldn't sign anybody even if they needed to. They would have had to let somebody go. So the World Juniors, we kind of talked about that. Talked about Ian Mitchell had scored the goal. I confirmed it was Ian Mitchell that scored. The USA is going to be playing. Actually, I think they're just starting in a little bit. They're warming up right now. So the U.S., as of right now, and I don't have the updated stats for the Swiss-Sweden game, but I don't think Kurashev or whatever he is, I don't think he scored or hit any points, but I don't know for sure. But he was up in the top 2, 3 for the leading scorers in World Juniors. He had 5 goals, 1 assist for Switzerland, which is that's promising. He's a center, decent size. He's not huge, but he's a decent sized center. So it's nice to see that the Blackhawks have some centers that actually are bigger than 5'4" and 133 pounds. So that's good to see. Who knows what he's gonna? He plays in the QMJHL, but who knows what he's gonna do in the pros? But it's at least nice to see to have at least in his peer group that he's excelling. Boqvist on Sweden, he's got 4 points. Mackenzie Entwistle on Canada, he's got 3 goals. Yoki Haru's got 3 points for Finland.
Kurashev is 6 foot, 190 pounds.
Yeah.
19 years old.
Yeah.
Played for the Quebec Remparts.
So, like I said, he's not big, but he's bigger than some of these other guys that they had. Ian Mitchell, as I talked about before, he got a goal, so he's got 3 points, a goal and 2 assists for Canada. Evan Barrett, he had a goal for U.S. in the first game they played. Looked really good. Was the best player on the ice. And then has kind of gone silent ever since. So I don't know if he's hurt. I don't know what's going on. I haven't been able to watch many more games. And Jakub Galvis, he's a defenseman on the Czech team, who I believe is who the U.S. is going to be playing. He had an assist, but I've read good things about what he's doing. So anyway, so that's the World Juniors. That's going to end up soon. The Blackhawks are, they have a pretty nice, healthy showing of young players there.
Yeah, and that's good. I mean, some in years past, some of the guys who've stepped up in the World Juniors have become, great players for the Hawks. Most notably Nicholas Hjalmarsson, I believe in the 2006 World Juniors. I think he was a stud, and he really developed. And then there's some other guys that have had good World Juniors and have not been great pros, like Adam Clendenning. So you never know. Saad, his last World Juniors was not great, but then he's playing in the NHL a couple years later and winning Stanley Cup. So
yeah.
It's a decent indicator. It's not always a be-all, end-all indicator.
For sure. The Evan Barrett thing, too. We brought up earlier that Ian Mitchell seems like he might go back to college. I'm really curious, and I kind of brought this up in our private chat, about what happens with Evan Barrett if he continues to lead the NCAA in scoring. If Stan doesn't run out there and try to sign him. I'm very curious. That's the one player who I think they could run out there and, pull the, late year Sakura kind of thing after his college season's over, whenever that ends. I don't know. It'll be right now. I don't know what, we don't know what their direction is. So we don't go, well, I could do this or they could do that, because they don't have a defined direction.
Right.
So it makes it really difficult to try and predict what's going to go on. But keep your eye on Evan Barrett. He's like when we were talking to the guy from Penn State with Aaron. He's basically like a Andrew Shaw type player. He didn't seem as goofy out on the ice, like as crazy and flopping around and acting and putting on that show in front of the crowd. But he's got that hard edge to him. He likes to dig in the corners. He'll get into a little scrap every now and then, which is you don't see a lot of that from Blackhawks. And you see something they don't have really a lot of in the organization, and they seem to like that kind of player. I mean, when Shaw, I didn't understand at the time when I saw Shaw first come into prospect camp, and how much special time they were giving him, pulling him aside. Like, they were literally pulling him aside and teaching him how to fight. I saw them after practice. I don't remember who the other player was there. He was like Steven Johns, I think, or something at the time. And they were basically showing him how to fight. And the assistant coaches were coming out there and showing Andrew Shaw how to fight. I don't think they're going to go that far with Evan Barrett, because I think maybe he has more offensive skill. But I don't know. We'll see where they go. So anyway, we're halfway through the new year. I do want to mention too, Patrick Kane was announced on the All-Star team for the All-Star game. He's the only one that was initially brought in. I guess I just saw something quoted from Elliot Friedman about you can vote players in or something, and Taves still has a chance to be voted into the game. But as of right now, it looks like Patrick Kane is going to be the only Blackhawk in that game. Also, he was, I think, first star of the month or week or something like that. I also saw today. It doesn't really interest me too much, but it was announced and he was acknowledged. So,
yeah, I'm trying to remember how many Hawks were in the All-Star game last year.
I don't even remember.
Yeah,
it seems like forever ago. Probably not many, because they were pretty bad at the time.
Yeah,
it was probably Kane, and that's it.
Yeah,
maybe Taves.
Yeah,
but so anyway, as we sit at the halfway point of the season, with tomorrow the Islanders, and Blackhawks basically kick off the second half of the season for Chicago. They're 15, 21-6, which is basically 15-27.
Right.
So they're basically 12 games under 500. They have 36 points. They're sixth in the Central. and they're 27th overall. So they've kind of moved up the standings a little bit. Their goal differential hasn't changed. They're still like negative 31. Face-off percentage, they're tied for 15th. They're right in the middle of the league, which is better than, I'd rather them be in the middle than the bottom third. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's because they're they're playing centers who are better at faceoffs than what they were.
Yeah. Yeah. Kampf's all right. Kruger's good. Strome, actually Strome's, I was surprised. Strome's faceoff percentage with the Blackhawks is like 46%.
Yeah. And that's Kruger's in that zone too.
Yeah.
But that's certainly better than 40, which is what Anisimov and Schmaltz were giving you.
Or even lower, like we were talking about earlier.
Incremental improvement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So their PK is still terrible. They're 31st in the league. It's 73.6%, and they're a full percentage point and a half lower than the 30th team. So they're really at the bottom by a long shot.
Yeah.
No, I don't think, as I looked up the list, I don't think any teams were separated by that many points. The the power play, they're up full two percentage points to 15%. They're tied at 25th, so they're not last or second to last. They've actually moved up because they've had a couple power play goals. And I think were we talking about this in the chat? I don't know, but it looks like they're moving the puck faster, like they should have been doing. It doesn't look like they're doing that push them back thing as much anymore.
Yeah.
And they're actually playing like a real power play instead of playing that nonsense, that fluky nonsense crap with the push them back defense.
Yeah.
Push them back. That just doesn't work for them. So that's good to see. At least one of their special teams is getting better. 16th in goals for, 30th in goals against, and they've actually improved a little bit in the goals against area. Shots against the game 34.2, which is the same. Their possession numbers went down over the last 2 weeks since we podcasted last. Corsi and Fenwick both went down. High danger save percentage is up to 8th in the league at 84%. And their 5-on-5 save percentage went up 6 spots to 19th. So thank you, Colin Delia.
Probably.
What's that?
That's probably Delia.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Colin. I mean, his save percentage 5-on-5 is ridiculous. It's like 960 something. It's never going to stay there.
No.
But for 3 or 4 games, like that just goes to show you, it'll boost you up the standings a little bit. If he comes back down to, excuse me, if he comes back down to earth, that's gonna come crashing down to earth too. But so anyway,
yeah,
yeah. So that's where we stand right now. I mean, what do you think? What kind of path do we need to see here going in the final 40?
Honestly, I mean, this goes back to, what's the plan? What do they want? What do they want to do? Do they want to lose games and, develop players through this process of, because they have a lot of young guys now, and there's an argument that some of them really aren't NHL ready, but they're here. So are they trying to do that and, get a high draft pick again? Again, it's going to be really interesting to see what they do with the trade deadline. Do they move as rumored, that Keith has been shopped around and is being shopped around, and perhaps others? Or do they continue to hold on to these guys and, continue this sort of soft rebuild or silent rebuild, as we've called it? Which doesn't seem to really be working, and it has not really worked over the last couple of years. It's not working this year. Or, are they just going to continue? Are they tanking without officially tanking and just selling off, any contract that they just don't feel is providing any value at all? And, basically trying to kind of just balance the books that way because they're not making as much money and selling as many tickets. I don't know. It's going. the trade deadline, the next month, how they play over the next month, and then what they do at the trade deadline, it's going to speak volumes. Well, we'll know then.
Yeah, unfortunately, they're not tipping their hat at all.
No, other than the fact that they are trying to correct mistakes, if rumors are to be believed, and is Kunitz one of those mistakes? I mean, I've heard people suggesting on Twitter that they trade Kunitz. They're not going to get anything for Kunitz. It's going to be, they're going to have to waive him. That's probably what they're going to do. That may be their next move is when Caggiula comes in town, that they'll probably waive Kunitz. But it doesn't really matter. I mean, Caggiula's not going to make that much of a difference, and Kunitz isn't doing anything now. So, I mean, that's not going to matter this year. The big question is next year and the year and the year after. I mean, what are they going to do to create an infusion of high-end young talent? Because the young talent that they have is not showing itself to be really high-end.
No,
and
it's not.
I'm sorry if people don't like hearing that. It's true. I mean, DeBrincat's a nice player, but he's not a great player. Gustafsson is good offensively. He is absolutely god awful defensively. And no, it's not a question of teaching him how to play defense, because he's been here for 3.5 years, and it's the same crap over and over again. And to assume that Joel Quenneville and Ulf Samuelsson and even Mike Kitchen weren't trying to teach him, it's just, come on, let's deal in reality here. His defense sucks. And I don't think it's going to get better. He's a moron. Sorry, he just drives me insane.
This aggression will not stand, man.
I mean, but again, I mean, these young players that are supposedly the future of the team, none of them are stepping up, like a Patrick Laine or a McDavid or a Tarasenko. I mean, there's nobody in that class. And those are the guys you need if you want to get back to winning Stanley Cups.
Yeah.
Multiples of them,
Yeah.
Hey,
they say the Blues are saying that Tarasenko could be on the.
Pardon me?
I was going to say I heard the Blues were saying that Tarasenko could be on the block.
I've got to go get him.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm with you. I don't think they're going to cut bait with Kunitz, and if anyone wanted Kunitz, I think the Blackhawks would gladly trade him.
Oh yeah,
but I don't think anyone wants him. Yeah, someone has to want the player. It's like the Brent Seabrook thing, and actually that's a good segue too into the Brandon Davidson thing. He was put on waivers. He's going to be sent down or whatever. I'm watching Edmonton's Twitter feeds, and they're all like, "Go out and get Brandon Davidson, please." Take him off the Blackhawks' hands.
Take Ruta too.
Like, please, you'd be doing everybody a favor. If you want him back, take him. No one wants Brandon Davidson right now. He was another mistake. This summer, at least 3 out of the 4 players that they brought in have been complete and utter disasters. Cam Ward's been okay. That's it.
Yeah. Actually, Ward's actually been his numbers are terrible. But he's had no help either. I don't think he's actually kind of exceeded my expectations a little bit. He's been very good in a few games, really good in a few games. And then he's had some other games that weren't that great. But he's certainly not had a lot of support.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And, well, what are you going to do?
Right.
Yeah. I want to see, and I'm going to keep saying it until it happens. I want to see some chaos. I want to see something happen. I want to see something big.
Me too.
I mean, right now, Dylan Strome showing up has been nice, and Drake Caggiula for Brandon Manning. That's nice, but I want to see something happen. Something that lights that fire again.
Yeah.
Because right now,
get people excited because I think that they're desperately trying to spin what they're doing as big exciting moves and. Prosperity is just around the corner, but I don't think anybody's buying it. You really don't.
If they are, they're dumb.
Well, there's a few diehards out there who will just keep living the dream or dreaming the dream, if you will, because you can't live the dream because it's hollow, it's false. But there's some, but most I think the vast majority of fans are where we are. They are. It's the belief is, and I hear, we get questions all the time, like, are they really rebuilding or what are they doing? And that's the right question. That's the right question. We don't have the answer. We won't know until probably the trade deadline. Then we'll have a better idea.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
They could always screw that up too, and that wouldn't, that actually wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, well, I mean, if they deal Keith, you're not dealing him to lose his cap hit because his cap hit is actually pretty good for the player he still is. You're dealing him to get some building blocks, and some a high draft pick or a really nice prospect and a nice young player. And I personally, I believe Keith will still bring you that from in the right deal at the deadline. 30 teams aren't going to give you that for Keith, but there are probably 4 or 5 out there who need that, experienced left side defenseman who could still, shut guys down. I mean, somebody will pay you for that at the deadline, but they got to step up and do it. And there's going to be unpopular with some people because some people still think this team's going somewhere in the next couple of years. It's not.
No. Yeah. Stop drinking the Kool-Aid and just understand, be realistic about this. Otherwise you're just a meatball idiot and everyone thinks you're dumb as hell. Including me. Including me.
Has the whole world gone crazy?
So, all right. Yeah, we talked about that, the lines and everything. Let's get into some questions. We'll get out of here for the night. We talked about that one question with Caggiula. This is the one I kind of mentioned to you earlier from Matt Wood. When do you think the next trade will happen and who will it be for? You are the rumor guy.
Nice. And I'm going to be the first to admit the rumor mill has slowed down quite a bit the last couple of years. And but the one guy that I'm hearing pretty consistently about from several sources is Keith, that they're shopping Keith around. And, and invariably when I, tweet that out, somebody will come back with it's not happening. Well, okay. Tell me why it's not happening. Cause I can give you reasons why it might be. Plus, I mean, I'm not making it up. This is what I'm hearing from people both in the United States and in Canada. And people who've been right about things before. So, the logic of trading Keith for this team is actually quite high. Sure, he has a no movement clause, but no movement clauses can be waived. And sure, there's the cap recapture issue, and that to me is probably the biggest stumbling block potentially. But I have to think that there's a way that they could get around that, and I think they probably knew that when they signed him to the deal way back when, that there was some kind of an escape plan on that too. So he's the guy I hear about. I think they would love to deal Anisimov, but allegedly at the trade deadline last year, the best Columbus would offer for him was a 3rd round pick. And, but again, Anisimov now is a wing and not even a center anymore for your team. And he's making $4.5 million a year. So he's another guy I could see them moving him, but I wouldn't expect much in return. Who else? I haven't heard any rumors about Kane or Taves. I have actually heard people theorizing or, people, I think last year there was a rumor about Taves and basically what I heard is Taves isn't getting moved unless he asks to be moved, and he hasn't asked. I think Taves is probably the last guy in this team they trade, honestly. Trying to think anybody else though. I mean, some of the young guys could get, they could, they are, as you mentioned at the top, Jeff, they're stacked at the prospect level for left side puck rushing defensemen. They've got a lot of them, and if they're planning on Gustafsson being around, then Baudin and Mitchell, they've got a lot of guys who kind of fit that profile. One of those guys could get moved, get packaged up and moved if they can get some value back. Seabrook, again, I don't think he's getting moved because of that contract is basically an albatross and nobody's going to take it on. I don't think the Hawks could even retain salary on him because they'd be on the hook for 5 more years, So, but I would guess Keith is probably next. possibly Anisimov, and possibly some younger guys or prospects could be moved out too. I could even see a team making a move for Kruger if they needed a depth center at the deadline. That's possible too.
Yeah.
But I haven't heard that. I haven't heard that Kruger's being moved.
Right.
But I have the guys I've heard about have been Keith and Anisimov.
So you heard it here first. John Jekyll just says all the names on the roster and sees what sticks, right?
Did I do that? I don't think I did that.
No, you didn't at all. That's why the sarcasm.
Has the whole world gone crazy?
Yeah. I mean, it's irresponsible to say that it's only could be two guys. I mean,
yeah,
because I don't think that's the case. I think this is a team that, quite honestly, has to be creative and in terms of what they're willing to do to improve the team. And as such, there may be some surprises. I mean, it could be one of those guys that we think that they would never deal if they got just a killer offer. You never know, but I don't know, because I think that this front office is still in the mode of gauging trades in terms of popularity with the fan base and impact on ticket sales right now, which is probably not healthy or wise in terms of the long-term rebuild strategy, if there is one. But I think that's where they're at still. I think they're still kind of conflicted about how willing they are to really, tear down and tank, if you will, to get better, much better in the long run.
Yeah, and I got to think that there aren't many people that, GMs are going to call Stan Bowman and he's going to say no to getting rid of for a respectable return. He might want to hang on to DeBrincat, okay. But, as you said, probably Taves, they're not going to probably approach him and be like, hey, you want to go? Unless he says he wants to go. And Kane, maybe
right.
not either.
Right.
They may be more willing to move him, but it may be, very close to the same scenario. Other than that, like, who do you say no to if you can get something of quality or something that helps your team back?
Yeah.
I mean, Boqvist, maybe. I mean, what if they offer you something good? What is it, Sergachev or something, or whatever?
Yeah, if they offer, a Sergachev or a real a stud right side defenseman who's young and has upside. Yeah, you'd have to look at that. But, they passed on Noah Dobson in order to take Boqvist.
Yeah.
So they really like him, and I really like him. I mean, I just hope he stays healthy and his brains don't turn into scrambled eggs before he reaches the NHL. Because I think, if that doesn't happen, he's going to be a big star. There's no question. He's just got incredible puck skill, and he could skate, and just really smart the way he thinks the game, off the charts. And I think that, that young Erik Karlsson descriptor is very fitting for him. It's just a question of whether, physically he's going to be, solid and ready to go in a couple of years. And there's no reason to think he won't be, beyond the fact he's had a couple of concussions.
Right. Yeah. He's still got some time and he's a little raw. That's fine. But
Yeah.
he is young. So
Yeah.
I agree with you that he's going to be, he's going to be good. But that being said, if you can get a known asset that you really need, do you consider it? Sure. You consider it. it just whether you think you're getting equal value back or not. But I can't see them being like, no, Boqvist, no. If other than, if they were some team was trying to lowball them. But,
yeah. I don't know. I think that they're really in love with him. And, and Bowman falls in love with, as much as he corrects the Brandon Mannings and the Jan Rudas, he does fall in love with certain players. I mean, I think that's in part why Sekura's still around right now. And, I don't think DeBrincat they would trade for anything less than a really handsome return. I think that they might be willing to deal Brandon Saad, but I don't know. I'm not sure I would want to deal him. Like he's actually, for what the player he is at the salary he's paid, he's 25 years old. He's won 2 Stanley Cups. He's a tremendous athlete, very versatile, great two-way player. I think he's a guy you hold on to be part of your future because of his age and his achievement already at this age. But, again, if they got knocked out, but I don't see somebody giving them a knockout offer for Saad either.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, well, it's gonna be very curious. Hopefully, we start hearing some things heat up for the trade deadline this year. It's our big day, right?
You know, another, and I've heard other people say this. I have not heard this myself because I don't know where the organization stands on this guy. But another guy I've heard mentioned as being a trade possibility. This is by fans, not necessarily sources. Is Gustafson? Is there a team out there that's going to fall in love with his offensive ability and be willing to kind of bite the bullet on his defensive shortcomings, to get him at the deadline? And if somebody offered you, say, a late first round pick for him, which is conceivable if a team was really in love with him and what he can do offensively, is that something the Hawks should do?
Shortcomings?
So we're just done with phrasing, right? That's not a thing anymore.
Yeah. I if anyone fell in love with that guy, I'd get what I could for him right now because.
Well, that's what you and I feel, and there's some other people who agree with this, but then there's some other people who think that, this guy is a budding superstar and, his defensive shortcomings because he's certain to become better defensively because no one's coached him to this point. So with no small amount of sarcasm on my part. But there are those of us like you and I who believe, if you could get a decent draft pick or a prospect who really fills a need, like maybe a young goalie prospect, for example, I would do it.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he's a guy you're going to win a Stanley Cup with the Blackhawks anyway.
And there's 3 other guys in the system who are better versions of Erik Gustafsson. Like Boqvist, maybe Ian Mitchell, at least, at the very least. And there may be more than that. So,
I mean, if Boqvist, Beaudin, and Mitchell all develop as they think they might, then then you got to, excuse me, then you've got to play Gustafsson on the right side, which is probably not his best side.
Yeah.
And, none of those 3 guys are probably going to be that good defensively where they can, anchor him. There's a reason they're playing with Keith because Keith can cover for a lot of his defensive weaknesses.
Yeah.
The same way they played Hjalmarsson with Brian Campbell back in 2009.
Right. I don't know. That'll be interesting. I certainly would not be opposed to those fireworks in that chaos, getting him out of town.
I'd be sorry to see Duncan Keith go. I mean, he's been foundational, to the success of this team over the last 10 years and maybe not appreciated as much as he should have been. I mean, he was at 2015 Stanley Cup. He was ungodly how good he was. And, it would be a shame, but at the same time, I mean, if it gave him an opportunity to go and spend the last couple of years of his career, with a great team and maybe win another Stanley Cup, then I wouldn't feel bad for him. And if it brought back, the building blocks that, could help really turn this organization around and get them back, heading back to elite status again, then I think you got to do it.
Yeah. We were talking about Strome earlier, and I wanted to kind of bring this up, and I don't know 1-for-1 comparison here, but Nick Schmaltz was what he was. He wasn't physical. He was not a second line center.
No,
I don't know what kind of, where he fits in at the center position at any team, but he was not a second line center. Your first line center is going to be your money guy. He's going to get all your worst matchups. He's going to get all this stuff, but, your second line center, a lot of times you see like a Ryan O'Reilly or a Bernie Nichols for the Blackhawks.
Actually, Ryan O'Reilly is not a terrible comparator for Strome. More than Strome, but they're both. I think they're both about the same size. Neither are going to win foot races up and down the ice, but both are guys who are effective. And Strome has not been hugely effective to this point in his career, but I don't know. It seems like he's getting better every game with the Hawks.
Yeah, and I was thinking Bernie Nichols, like
a little bit comparator there. Pardon me?
No, I was thinking like not as much of a scorer, but definitely a playmaker is like Bernie Nichols. He was kind of a bigger dude. He wasn't super fast.
Yeah,
he was a bigger player. Didn't move.
He was a really good playmaker.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I mean, I could see, Strome turning into that nice secondary option. He's young.
Strome also reminds me a little bit of Jason Spezza.
Yeah, that too.
Spezza was a really good shooter, or is a really good shooter, and he's big and not fast afoot at all. But I think over the course of his career, I think there were high expectations, not unlike Strome coming into the league. And Spezza maybe never quite lived up to his expectations, but he also, didn't always play in the best teams. And I mean, people in the game would talk about his skill level and how good of a player he was, that fans maybe didn't appreciate sometimes. But I think there's a comparator there too. But I mean, if Strome ends up being that good, or like Bernie Nichols, or who was the other guy I was just talking about that I would compare? Well, Ryan O'Reilly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a huge win for the Hawks. And this is a guy 21 years old, and he had huge numbers in junior. And I mean, he does think. I mean, not afraid to go to the front of the net. He can set up plays. He can finish plays. I don't know. I like Strome so far.
Yeah, I do too. I'm pretty happy with what I've seen out of him. So, I don't want to hear any more of this. We're too negative stuff. I think we had a lot of positives lately.
Oh, relatively speaking, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, as much as we possibly can in this. So anyway, Clay Bandow, why is Cahoon getting more playing time than DeBrincat? There are huge point production differences. I don't think, first of all, I don't think I want DeBrincat on the right wing.
No, he's better on the left side.
They like him better on the left side, so that's a big difference. They like to have a defensively responsible wing playing with Jonathan Toews.
Yeah.
And that's what Cahoon is shown to be. Now he's not showing as much offensively. He's kind of disappears at times for long stretches. And it doesn't, absolve him of any of that. But I think that more of the type of winger, they got Brandon Saad and Dominic Cahoon, both two-way wingers, solid, they have skill, they can score, they can play make. And Jonathan Toews is a lot of the same thing. It's basically three of the same kind of players.
Yeah.
They can do everything. And I think that's probably what I can only imagine, and I'm only guessing, what Jeremy Colleton is seeing in this. And that Alex DeBrincat, maybe, Jeremy Colleton sees that he's more of a secondary player. Maybe, playing him, I don't know. I wouldn't like playing him between Strome and Kane, but with Strome there, I'd be a little more comfortable than I would have been with Nick Schmaltz there.
Yeah.
Because, Strome can play, some defense. He can win a face-off. He can do some things like dig the puck out deep. He's got size that he can get his body in there and do that. So, I don't know. I can only assume that they like his two-way game. And that's why he's getting more time than DeBrincat. And DeBrincat's kind of,
and I think you'd really touch on it. They like DeBrincat at left wing, and they like they like Cahoon on the right side, and I think that's what it is. It's and a lot of coaches believe in sticks, and I personally having played center, right wing, and left wing quite a bit growing up, I much more prefer to play center or right wing. I could not handle playing left wing. It just felt totally counterintuitive to me. Now, I didn't play nearly at the level of these guys play, but I mean, when you talk to NHL players, there's a lot to be said for sticks, and some guys will say that it doesn't matter, and there are some guys for whom it doesn't matter. They can play either side equally well, but most guys have a preference, and most guys are better on one side or the other. And I think, DeBrincat's a shooter. And as a right-hand shooter, you want him on the left-hand side of the ice because he's got better angles on the goalie, and he's just better over there. It's obvious, and so that's probably the main reason that Cahoon is playing with Toews and Saad, and DeBrincat's playing lower down.
Right. And our one of our favorite Twitter accounts, Throbbin for guest. Now that the most important game of everyone's lives is over, and judging by their recent record, all the problems are solved permanently on this team, should Bowman start forcing Kane to sit and help this year's draft pick? More seriously, should he trade big names sooner to help the tank for better picks, or is that a no-no in hockey land, his career? It would suck to only get the 8th pick after this crap hole of a year. I cannot disagree with any of that. It would suck if they got like the 8th pick again. If they can get in the top 5, and that's what I'd like to see, at least.
Yeah, I don't think this draft is as good or as deep as last year's was either. I haven't really heard one way or the other, but last year's was kind of a, generational quality draft. If you listen to the scouts and the reputable draft reporters. Again, are they still doing the silent rebuild, which is kind of the half pregnant? We're not really rebuilding. We're not really going for it. Obviously, that's possible. Are they going to at the trade deadline, especially if they have a bad January, which looks quite possible? Are they going to then move a couple of big veteran contracts and really seriously get down to the work of rebuilding, or door number 3, which is becoming more and more of a plausible theory, which is they're just going to try to get rid of as much salary as they can because they're not making as much money. And if that gets them a higher draft pick, great. They may do a little bit in free agency this summer, but it really what it's about basically is just being more fiscally responsible and, keep telling the fans that everything's great. I don't know. It's one of those 3.
Yeah. I'm in for the tank, but you can only do so much. While some players will sit and pout and complain and go into slumps, I don't think Patrick Kane's one of them. I think he'll score 1,000 goals if he can.
Taves and Kane are never going to stop competing, and that's one of the things that makes both of them great. Why probably neither of them is getting traded, But otherwise, my personal preference would be that they tank. Then again, I don't own the team. I don't have millions of dollars at stake, like Rocky Wirtz does. So, or my job isn't at stake because they've stopped selling tickets, like maybe perhaps John McDonough's job is at stake or Bowman's. So it's easier for me to say that. But I mean, and I've said this on this show before, and I'll say it again. I mean, I go back with this team to the late 1960s, and I mean, I lived through a lot of bad years with mediocre teams, with the front office not being honest with the fans about what they were doing and why they were doing it. And the Doug Gilmores and the Michael Grosics and Enrico Ciccone and all that crap that we had to put up with for so many years. This last 10 years, I mean, I've gotten spoiled. I want something like that again. And I personally am willing to go through 2 or 3 horrible years. And people forget that right before this team started to come together and gel in like 2007, 2008, Dale Talon tanked like late 2004, 2005, 2006 and traded off everything he had, Steve Sullivan, Al Jamnoff, et cetera. And a lot of those picks turned into, part of the supporting cast or and the tank got the Hawks in position to pick Taves and in position to pick Kane. And, that's what it's going to take if this team really wants to get back to being a great team again. The course they've been on the last 2 or 3 years is leading only to mediocrity. So I don't know. Are they going to change? I don't know.
Well, we got just under 2 months to find out, huh?
Well, yeah.
At least for now, until the draft. All right. Well, that does it for questions. I think we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got any last thoughts that you've been stewing on over the holidays with the Blackhawks, or are we good? Can we get out of here?
No, I think that's really all I got for now. I'm looking forward to this month, though. I'm looking forward to see, if where this team. I personally, I'm starting to get a little more excited about Colleton. I'm seeing the team doing some things and some little wrinkly moves that he's making that have helped this team, pick it up a little bit. And it doesn't seem like they're not trying like they were before the team got hot. It seems like they got a little bit of an injection of excitement and energy And I hope they can keep that going because it's certainly better than what we were watching before. But so that's encouraging. Guys like Strome, I'm encouraged to see him and see, how he develops. But then, after that, it's like I just, be interesting to see what they do at the trade deadline.
Yeah, I'm curious myself. I don't know. Every other year we've known that they were going to be buyers, or they were at least BSing the fans into their Dylan Sakura trade deadline acquisitions. So this could be the first year in a while where they're really sellers.
Well, yeah, if they're buying at the deadline, I give up. I mean, I don't know. If they're buying at the deadline, I think that it's just evidence that they've completely gone off the rails.
Yeah.
I don't see it happening, honestly. I think there's more sanity left in the organization than that. Some fans may not like hearing that, but it would just be insane.
Yeah. Well, speaking of tanking, Jack Hughes assisted on the primary only goal for the Blackhawks, the Team USA right now in the World Juniors. So we have that to look forward to. And like we said, Ian Mitchell scored earlier for Canada. Yeah. And Capo Kakko, the big Finnish winger, I guess he's playing against Canada and playing very well tonight as well. So he's supposed to be like the second overall pick. So Crapo for Kakko. It doesn't flow off the tongue as Slack for Jack or Lewis for Hughes, but it's as close as I could get.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and also watch out. I did see something about Turcotte, who is, further down the draft list, possibly skyrocketing up to third overall. And he's a Chicago, or at least he has Chicago ties. So, you know how Bowman likes to do that.
Yeah.
Although he may have learned his lesson with Hinestroza and the other Northwest Chicago suburb crew, Hartman and all those guys.
Don't go busting on the Northwest suburbs.
All right, that does it for us. You can find all of our comprehensive content at www.the-rink.com. You can find us on the popular social media at The Rink Official, at The Rinkcast. I am at Puck and Hostel. You, sir, are at Jekyll, Jaeckekel. If you get a chance, I checked the other day. We don't have any new reviews. Please head over, rate and review us, subscribe to the podcast so we climb up the charts. It really does help out. If you like what we're doing, share it with your friends, please. Your friends, family, whatever. Anyone who you think would like to listen to us or would enjoy what we're bringing you. We've got hopefully some really good guests lined up for the month of January and into the remainder of the Blackhawks season. So that's what we're gonna try and bring you. So I have one last plug: the Sean and Maya show in the morning. They've asked me to a couple times to call in, talk about Blackhawks. When the Blackhawks made the trade Sunday, they asked me to call in on Monday, so I did. I enjoyed. We talked for about 25 minutes. If you look on the website, I cropped out my interview, but I also put a link to their show as well. I'd like them to get a credit for it, and they're good people over there. Sean and Maya, the Superback, Sean, Sierra, and the Sports Chica Maya. They're good people over there, and you know what, a lot of sports talk radio and all that, they can't really keep up. They do the minimum to keep up. They know a few buzzwords and they know that stuff. These guys, they know their stuff. They're Chicagoans and they know their hockey, and yeah, it's good. So I like to get the rink name out there. So I'm perfectly willing to talk on some other shows if we have to. So Sean and I in the morning. You've seen the links on the website. Check out the what we talked about Monday. A lot of it is still relevant. So, you got any other plugs you want?
I would just encourage our listeners to, and we know you're out there. Encourage you to visit the website. We've got, in addition to Mario Tirabassi covering the AHL and Rockford like nobody else, and Aaron Goldschmidt covering the NCAAs. Ray Napientek is now covering the Chicago Steel for us. Ron Luce is going to be delivering dedicated reportage on the entirety of Major Junior Hockey, CHL and USHL. And then our guy, Evan Miller, covering the Indy Fuel. You heard his report tonight. And Bob Rose has had some family issues, family health issues this year, but he's going to be contributing again for us on skills. And then as the draft, gets closer, we'll have Eric Andrews and Wiz may show up with some
Wiz
of
in
his
the box.
pearls of wisdom. So just just because the Hawks are struggling this year, that doesn't mean that that there isn't a lot to explore in hockey and in hockey journalism. We've got it. We've got it covered 7 ways from Sunday, and I'm excited as not just a founder of the rink and a partner in the rink, but also as a fan to dive in more to the reportage and some of these other guys and some of the other levels of hockey, because let's face it, the NCAAs and the AHL at the very least, Rockford, that's part of the future of the Hawks, and this future that we've been talking about, that we hope is a bright one. And so in Mario, it's all these guys are really good writers, and they've got some great insights. They're not just putting up the same old fanboy crap. I would just urge you guys, when you come to the site and you read about the Hawks, check these other guys out too. It's really good stuff.
Yeah, that's an excellent plug there for all the guys, because they're all working real hard and they're all doing a great job. I'm very happy with what we have going on here. So for the second half of the season, we're going to roll it all the way to the end. I think it's April 1st or something is the last game of the year or so.
And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Pappy and Brian Ferran, who are providing a little bit more of the NHL coverage that we Jeff and I focus on. But those guys have been really nice additions as well. And then Mark Karkaska is another guy who's been helping us out with some of the NHL work this year as well. And if I'm leaving anybody out, I apologize. We've added quite a few right now. Stephen Douglas. Yeah. And also Matt Ross. Yeah. Has been helping us out as well. And so I don't want to leave those guys out either. But again, that's we've been through adding these guys and getting them on, online and engaged. We've, it's just amazing when I go to the site and check it out. It's the amount of fresh content that's going up on the site every day, on all different levels of hockey and different aspects of hockey. We're still working on adding, somebody who's really deep into the analytics, having some conversations with some people about that. European hockey. We're trying to find somebody to report on that as well. And we will. It'll happen. And that's going to, just add more dimensions to what we're bringing on the rink. Yeah.
And that's kind of the nice thing about what we're doing is we're doing what we want to do. We don't have some big conglomerate that's, like fan-sided or whatever, that's kind of overseeing what you're doing, telling you got to do more of this or you got to do more of that. Like we could not do anything if we wanted to, but we're not. That's not the way we're going to go. We do what we want to do. We report on the things that we feel are important, and we feel that the fans need to know, the things fans need to know and be informed on to be better fans. And that's what we're trying to do. We're not just trying to send out a whole bunch of clickbait and this is Alex DeBrinket's dog and this is da-da-da-da-da. Like, that's just fluff and that's just TMZ BS, and we don't need any of that, and that's what we're not going to bring. We're going to stick to hockey.
And that's the other thing, too, is, we've had people approach us about, advertising on the site, pop-ups and whatnot. And, we've avoided that. So that's the other thing. When you come to our site, you don't get a lot of ads popping up. We've got a couple ads there for Puck Hockey who are our, founding sponsors and really more like partners than anything else. We may at some point institute a revenue model, but we're probably never going to have deluge you with ads like some sites do. When you come there, you're coming there for the content, not to buy pizza or, skates or trips to Aruba, I don't know.
Or trips to Ohio.
This one season might make you want to go to Aruba.
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, so that's, again, it's all about the content, and that's, we've focused on that from the very beginning. And again, I'm just eternally grateful to the writers who've jumped on board, and they're part of this adventure with us, and an investment of their time and talent to make this thing. And it's exciting. It's just it's grown beyond what we envisioned 14 months ago, and it's going to keep growing. And I mean, that's not about us. It's about the fans and the fans having a place to come. And I mean, when I look at the Facebook page and the numbers of posters and names that I remember from Hockey Buzz and all kinds of new people. And it just keeps growing, and the interactions on Twitter and Instagram, and then on the site, the comments on the blogs on the site, and it's all really still in near infancy. So it's we're excited. We invite you all to be part of it and be regular parts of it. Bookmark us, make us a regular part of your day, because you're going to come to the site where there's not new content posted.
Yeah, and subscribe to the email list, which basically just tells you when new articles come out, if you want to be notified that way. Or the Rink Official, all of our articles are posted there. So several places you can find all of our stuff, but we appreciate you all coming back and hanging in there with us. And this is an important time of year for us, because we really like to go hard at the trade deadline with what's going on. So it's going to be really important for that in the draft coming up.
And there probably will be some rumors between now and the trade deadline, because I think the Hawks are going to be active and probably as sellers. And the rumor mill has, like I said, has dried up a little bit the last couple of years, but there's still some stuff out there, and still a couple of fairly regular sources who share information with us. I mean, one of the guys that we still talk to tipped us on the Ryan Hartman deal last year, and he was right. And we were able to get that out there and to give you the hows and whys of, why he was going to be traded. And that's exactly what happened. So, stick with us. It's going to be exciting. I mean, that trade deadline is going to be fun this year. It's going to be fun to be sellers and not buyers. And I do think that's what's going to happen. I hope so too. Yep.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. So I don't think
check out our sponsors, Puck Hockey, PUCKHCKY. Buy some gear. It's cool stuff.
Yeah. I was wearing my stuff all over the Christmas holiday and time off. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can't forget my boy Patrick Judge, who's been on the podcast a couple times.
Yeah.
They released some new music, 2 songs, On My Side and Peace, from their double album that's going to be coming out. I believe it's March 1st. It's called War and Peace, and it's good stuff. I had it as an outro last podcast. I'm going to do it as an outro again on this podcast. But all this being said, thanks for taking time out of your busy schedules to download us and support us. Until next episode, this is On My Side by Demon Hunter. See you on the rink.